The universe demands silence. You will not feel the warning. No alarm blares across the continents. No ancient prophet saw this coming. It simply happens. This is the brutal truth about cosmic power. It is silent, absolute, and completely indifferent to your frantic, fleeting existence. We worry about rogue asteroids or artificial intelligence turning sentient. Childish nightmares compared to the actual apex predator of the cosmos, the gamma ray burst. Call it the sniper shot. It travels unimpeded, faster than any bullet, carrying more destructive energy than our sun will produce in its entire 10 billion year lifespan, all condensed into a single terrifying second. That single second is the difference between a thriving, blue marble and a sterilized rock, where the concept of life becomes an archaeological myth carved into sandstone. The romanticized view of space, the endless frontier, the beautiful nebulae, the poetic majesty, is a comfortable, profitable lie we tell ourselves to sleep at night. Here's the reality, and you must internalize this truth. The universe is not friendly. It is an engine of chaotic destruction, and gamma-ray bursts are its primary tool for ecological pruning, its favored method of population control. This isn't just abstract physics. This is about Machiavellian cosmic power dynamics. Life is not a design feature. It is an anomaly tolerated by an indifferent, violent system. We exist only because the biggest, most aggressive power structures, supernovae, black holes, colliding neutron stars, have so far decided to fire their death rays slightly off target. Our survival is statistically improbable. We are living in the shadow of giants who don't even know we are here, and that fundamental insignificance is the only safety mechanism we possess. We are too small to be worth targeting intentionally. We treat this like a theoretical risk, a distant calculation based on probability curves, but the evidence is written right into our planet's geology. Mass extinctions? We blame volcanoes. We blame ice ages. We point fingers at terrestrial processes, desperately clinging to the idea that our doom must come from within. I sincerely doubt that narrative. The Permian extinction, the Great Dying, the event that wiped out 90% of marine species? It was too sudden, too thorough. It has the distinct signature of something extraterrestrial, something that didn't just kill life, but destroyed the atmospheric conditions required for it to survive. That is the calling card of a nearby GRB strike. To truly understand this kind of indifferent, crushing power, to see the real gears turning behind the curtain of stars, requires a specific kind of intellectual honesty. It demands truth over comfortable delusion. If you are ready to discard the fairy tales of cosmic benevolence and face the cold mechanisms that truly govern existence, then you belong right here. Now, let's look at the weapon itself. Gamma-ray bursts aren't accidental sparks. They are the controlled, highly focused exhaust of the universe's most violent events. We categorize them foolishly into two distinct types, short bursts and long bursts. Both are catastrophic. Both are absolute. Short bursts are the result of stellar marriage turned viciously lethal. The collision of two neutron stars, heavy, dense, brutal. They spiral inwards, warping space-time until they finally kiss, immediately collapsing into a new black hole. The energy release is almost instantaneous, focused into two tight, relativistic jets shooting out from the poles of the newly formed monster. Think of a cosmic cannon barrel, precisely machined for maximum penetration. A concentrated stream of energy, traveling at 99.999% the speed of light, designed not just to kill, but to incinerate a column of space stretching across entire galaxies. If Earth happens to wander into the crosshairs of one of those beams, the surface is instantly bathed in hard radiation. That's the flash. But the real problem is what happens after the flash fades. The light arrives first, a blinding wave of photons, but the secondary delayed fallout is what seals our coffin. The blast rips through our atmosphere, stealing electrons from nitrogen and oxygen, converting the essential components of our air into poisonous oxides of nitrogen, nitrous acid, nitric acid. This happens globally, instantly. The ozone layer, our shield against solar UV radiation, is not just damaged, it is chemically dismantled, gone. It takes weeks, maybe months, for the atmosphere to recover, but the damage is done on day one. When the ozone disappears, the sun, which was our gentle provider, becomes the executioner. UV radiation levels spike to fatal degrees, sterilizing the surface, killing phytoplankton in the oceans, the base of our entire global food chain. Complex organisms, you, me, every living thing that breathes, die slowly, violently exposed to two lethal pressures simultaneously. A massive chemical poisoning raining down from the stratosphere, and relentless ultraviolet radiation frying everything on the ground. It is the perfect cold-blooded murder. It is the perfect cold-blooded murder. You think deep space is empty? You think the vast vacuum is a buffer? Nonsense. That vacuum is just a canvas for these cosmic atrocities. These short bursts, they are heavy metal percussion. Quick, violent, over before the echo registers. But if you value truth over the comfortable illusion, you realize that the most profound threats are always the ones that linger. If you find yourself nodding, understanding that reality is colder than fiction, then you are exactly who this channel is for. You belong here. Now, let's talk about the absolute nightmare scenario. Enter the long burst. This is not the collision of two dense objects. This is the death rattle of a single colossal star, a hypernova, massive, ancient, dying slowly. Short bursts are the sniper rifle. Long bursts are the orbital bombardment system. When a star 50 times the mass of our sun runs out of fuel, its core cannot hold the weight of its own reality. It implodes. It collapses down into an iron singularity, forming a black hole that immediately begins feeding. The process is protracted. It's a minute-long scream in the cosmic silence. A minute. That difference in duration is everything. 1,000 times more energy is released than in the neutron-star collision. The longer duration allows the relativistic jets, those tightly focused beams of death, to sustain their fire, carving a far wider swath of destruction across the galaxy. You, the viewer, must grasp this horrifying distinction. The short burst is a quick, high-intensity flash that wipes out the ozone. The long burst is a sustained flood that does the same, but then continues to hammer the naked surface with lethal X-rays and ultra-hard gamma rays for 60 solid seconds. 60 seconds of pure, unadulterated incineration. Imagine standing on Earth's surface as that wave hits. The atmosphere doesn't just lose its electrons. It momentarily incandesces. It glows with the energy of 1,000 solar flares, concentrated into a single, needle-thin beam. The initial radiation spike is so massive it ionizes everything, destroying electronics instantly, frying the sensitive machinery of civilization before the chemical fallout even begins to rain down. But the real consequence is geological. We aren't talking about surface sterilization anymore. We are talking about rearranging the atmospheric chemistry so fundamentally that life is suffocated. The nitrogen fixation processes essential for terrestrial biology, broken. The foundational cycle of the planet, stopped. Think about the oceans. The long burst doesn't just kill the plankton at the surface. The sheer volume of high-energy photons penetrates deep into the water column, sterilizing the shallow marine shelves, guaranteeing an oceanic desert. We never recover from that. Never. Short bursts give us weeks of darkness and UV exposure before mass extinction occurs. Long bursts give us perhaps an hour of blinding light before the planet is functionally poisoned. And the UV exposure reaches levels where even microbes struggle to survive underground. It is the definitive game over. And the worst part? We are perpetually blind to the threat. We see the flash when it's already traveled millions of light years. We are looking at history, but we are experiencing the consequence in the present. We are standing directly in the crosshairs of a bullet fired eons ago, and we have zero time to dodge. We are just waiting for the trigger pull that has already happened. The star that kills us is already dead. This is the hidden mechanism of cosmic murder. The vastness of time is not a protector, but a messenger delay. That flash, the one observed by astronomers across the globe, is the light from the hypernova's death, but the death ray itself, the catastrophic stream of particles and hard X-rays that arrives slightly later. You don't get a warning. You get a simultaneous notification and execution. The entire concept of preparedness is moot. And that is why the conversation about defense is utter theater. What defense could you possibly mount against a relativistic jet originating 10,000 light years away? We build bunkers for nuclear war. We plan for asteroids. Both are pedestrian problems. A cosmic burst is a fundamental violation of physics that humanity cannot survive. We are fragile. Our atmosphere's thin. Our DNA is delicate. We are a soft target in a violent galaxy. I sincerely doubt any species anywhere facing this head-on survives intact. It's a binary function, hit or miss. And if it hits, we disappear from the cosmic census. But will it hit? That is the billion-dollar gamble. It's not about how many GRBs occur in the universe. It's about their beaming angle and proximity. These bursts are tightly focused. They have to hit us square on. We are not safe simply because we are far away. We are safe, statistically speaking, only because the universe is massive and the beams are narrow. Narrow but lethal. It's estimated that only about 1 in every 500,000 GRBs is pointed directly at Earth. Comforting? Barely. Because that tiny percentage, when multiplied by the staggering number of star collapses occurring over deep time, means our extinction is not a possibility. It is a certainty, given enough millennia. We have already dodged a few. Paleontology tells the tale. Go look at the late Ordovician extinction event, 440 million years ago. A massive sudden drop in shallow marine life. Massive glaciation. The consensus leans towards climate change, or volcanic activity. But the timing and the specific pattern of extinction, heavy damage to organisms near the surface, fits the gamma-ray burst hypothesis almost perfectly. A distant star, dying silently, sent a flash of death across the cosmos, stripping our ancient ozone layer and plunging the planet into a sudden, lethal chill. That was not a planetary suicide. That was murder by light speed. And you think we are somehow better protected now? We are worse off. Our current global food chain relies entirely on delicate ecosystems and complex agriculture built atop thin topsoil. One long burst, aimed at the Milky Way from even 6,000 light years out, would generate enough energy flux to instantly end human civilization. Forget climate collapse, forget pandemics. This is the only true existential threat that offers zero opportunity for adaptation. It is the ultimate celestial tax. You either pay everything or you pay nothing. It won't be a flash and then silence. That's Hollywood nonsense. The light doesn't kill us, not immediately. The gamma radiation hits Earth, yes, stripping electrons, ionizing the upper atmosphere into a temporary, searing plasma. But the real murder is the aftermath. We are talking about colossal waves of X-rays and ultraviolet radiation that cascade through the upper air, meeting the most abundant element we breathe, nitrogen. Nitrogen is normally inert. It's friendly. The GRB pumps so much energy into the atmosphere that it forces N2 to combine with oxygen, forming massive quantities of nitrogen oxides, the deadly NOx molecules. The sky doesn't just get bright, it turns an ominous, sickly brown, thick, permanent. Acid rain falls across the continents, nitric acid dissolving life, dissolving infrastructure. The air becomes toxic, unbreathable for days. But the atmospheric death blow, that is the ozone layer. NOx is an insatiable ozone eater. The GRB doesn't just damage the shield, it metabolizes it. Instantly. Completely. Within months, maybe weeks, that delicate thin armor protecting every organism on the surface of this rock vanishes. Done. The sun, which we casually call a star of life, instantly becomes a cosmic ray cannon, pointed directly at our skin, our DNA, our food sources. That's the reality nobody wants to discuss at the dinner table. If you crave that kind of unforgiving clarity, the truth that dismantles comforting illusions, you belong right here. Keep watching. We are just getting started on the mechanics of our silent murder. The surface of the planet becomes a radiation hotspot. You can hide inside, sure, crawl into your basement, but you still have to eat, and the ultimate vulnerability lies in the most deceptively simple life forms. Phytoplankton, those tiny marine plants floating near the surface of the oceans, produce 50% of the oxygen we inhale. Every second breath you take is thanks to them. They are exquisite solar collectors. They are also incredibly sensitive to UV radiation. They die first, massively, globally. A sudden, deep ocean ecological collapse. The entire marine food chain starves instantly. Coral bleaches. Shellfish vanish. That's not just a loss of seafood. That is the engine of the global climate grinding to a stop. Land crops fare no better. Intense UV exposure sterilizes the fields. It destroys the delicate structures of plant cells before they can even germinate. We are simultaneously irradiated and starved. We don't die from the gamma ray burst itself. We die 3 years later, cold, sick, hiding from a sun that has become lethal, clawing at dead soil, desperately wishing we had paid attention to the warning signs written in deep space. And who is watching? NASA? They monitor. They catalog. They know the potential. But knowing is not the same as acting. Because what exactly are we supposed to do? You cannot build a shield against light speed. You cannot legislate against a dying star 3,000 parsecs away. The only defense is prevention, and the only prevention is distance, which we lack. The closest candidates for extinction-level GRBs are horrifyingly near. Consider the Wolf-Rayet stars. These giants, unstable and nearing the end, are ticking time bombs that could produce a hypernova, fueling a long GRB. WR-104 is a favorite cosmic bogeyman. It sits about 8,000 light-years away, nestled almost perfectly along the axis of our vision. Its rotation axis, the direction the beam would fire, appears to be angled towards us. Appears. That single word holds all our hope and all our terror. If that axis is even slightly off, we are safe. If it aligns even a little, the Ordovician event looks like a mild inconvenience. The universe is silent about this threat. The silence is the terror. You cannot hear the burst coming. You cannot measure it until it has already arrived. The light and the gamma rays hit simultaneously. The only warning we get is the sudden, catastrophic failure of every satellite, every GPS system, every piece of vulnerable space electronics, all frying at the speed of light. Then, 1 second later, the atmosphere begins to burn. We live in a delusion of technological safety, prioritizing squabbles over true cosmic vigilance. We spend billions planning Mars colonies, attempting to put all our eggs in 2 baskets, when we should be spending 10 times that amount analyzing stellar rotation, mapping the magnetic fields of every unstable giant within 10,000 light years. We are looking down, obsessed with the mud, while the heavens prepare the ultimate reckoning. Forget the slow death by climate change. Forget the viral plague. They offer choices. They offer adaptation. A gamma ray burst offers a single, definitive conclusion. You lose. The clean slate. The ultimate reset button pressed by a disinterested cosmos. Our existence is not earned by intelligence or industry. It is purchased by statistical luck, moment by terrifying moment. And that luck is running out. It always does. The dark truth is that this planet has been murdered before, and it will be murdered again. We are merely tenants, waiting for the next unavoidable eviction notice to arrive at the speed of light. Our civilization is built on the sands of cosmic coincidence. And when the next GRB strikes, humanity will not just fall. We will simply cease to have been statistically relevant. It is the final, perfect silence. The end of the story, told by light itself. This existential carelessness is not accidental. It is engineered. It is the purest expression of the Machiavellian realist worldview dictating global policy. The elite, the true power brokers of this planet, only care about risks they can control, risks they can exploit, or risks that can generate measurable returns. The gamma-ray burst is fundamentally unmonetizable. It cannot be taxed. It cannot be weaponized against a rival nation. Therefore, it is irrelevant. A universal democratized death is useless to the powerful because it levels the playing field. Their entire system relies on hierarchical survival, on having better security, deeper bunkers, more protected assets. A GRB destroys the very concept of comparative advantage. Everything goes. The gold reserves, the Swiss accounts, the nuclear codes, all rendered dust under a burnt sky. This inability to profit from the apocalypse is why the real threat is buried under layers of petty, manufactured crises. They need you focused on the drama they create, the wars they fund, the political theater that keeps the coffers full. Divert the eye from the true celestial assassin. Distract. 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 That is the prime directive of every power structure on Earth. They want solvable problems. Problems that reinforce their authority as the solvers. A problem that simply ends the game is professionally unacceptable. It's a bad business model. That's the entire equation. Now, look at the foolishness of preparation. Those billionaires digging deep tunnels in New Zealand, stockpiling freeze-dried elk meat. They think they are purchasing safety. They are not. They are merely investing in the wrong apocalypse. They are ready for nuclear winter, for a societal collapse where basic physics still applies. They are not ready for a chemical reset of the planet. When that beam hits, it vaporizes the ozone layer instantly, stripping us of our UV shield. But that is only the opening act. The real villain arrives second. Nitrogen oxides. A blinding quantity of them, cooked into existence by the sheer energy of the burst interacting with our upper atmosphere. This means acid. Think nitric acid raining down globally. This isn't gentle drizzle. This is corrosive death, descending upon every plant, every crop, every phytoplankton bloom in the world's oceans. You come out of your pressurized deep earth bunker 2 years later, thinking the danger has passed. You emerge onto a world where the surface is bathed in raw, unfiltered UV radiation, strong enough to tear apart DNA molecules, and the entire global food chain has already crashed. The plankton, the very foundation of marine life and half the oxygen we breathe, will die off first, immediately. We are talking about global ecosystem collapse measured in weeks, not decades. Congratulations. You survived the flash only to inherit the right to starve slowly, bathed in lethal light. This isn't survival. It's a protracted execution. Do not deceive yourself into believing human ingenuity will provide a shield. We are experts at engineering local solutions, micro solutions. We cannot engineer a macroscopic solution to a stellar event. We can't stop a star from dying. We can barely predict the weather 3 days out, yet we arrogantly assume we can master cosmic dynamics. The physicists know this truth. They see the numbers. They see the proximity of certain Wolf-Rayet stars, heavy unstable monsters burning through their fuel at suicidal rates. But try to get funding to mitigate a 1 in 100 million year event that happens far beyond the orbit of Pluto. Try to sell that budget to a Senate committee worried about next Tuesday's election cycle. It is impossible. The political organism is fundamentally incapable of prioritizing long-term, non-monetizable survival. They choose the comfort of the now, the sweet delusion of human agency. They prefer the lie of control, the lie that we are masters of our destiny, when in reality, we are statistical residue, clinging to a rock in the cosmic shooting gallery. Perhaps you find this thought unbearable. Maybe you think I exaggerate the severity, leaning into nihilism for effect. I sincerely doubt it. Look at the fossil record. Look at the Ordovician extinction 443 million years ago, which wiped out 85% of life. The leading theory points directly to a GRB signature. This planet was a thriving biosphere, complex and robust, only to be rendered chemically sterile in geological terms, overnight. It happened once. It will happen again. It's not a matter of prevention, but simple cosmic scheduling. We are not exempt from the laws of stellar physics just because we invented TikTok and nuclear fusion. The universe does not grade on a curve based on technological advancement. It grades on radiation density. And when the beam arrives, it will achieve the final, perfect silence. Our final contribution to the cosmos will be a momentary, bright flare of X-rays, registered by a bored alien astronomer 10,000 light-years away, signifying nothing more than the termination of a minor, statistically irrelevant civilization. No heroes, no last stand, no dramatic speech, just the light extinguishing. That is the verdict. The great cosmic joke is that we fear the things we can see, the missile silos, the rising tide, the viral pandemic. But we ignore the things that guarantee our end simply because the timeline exceeds the political mandate. We worry about tariffs and inflation when the actual debt we owe is to the long-term integrity of our species, a debt we default on every single day. Stop looking to the Senate floor for courage. Stop waiting for the secret government lab to reveal the shielding technology. It doesn't exist. It will never exist under the current operational parameters of human power. The structure of our society is optimized for cyclical, internal consumption, not external survival. The machine is designed to feed itself, not protect the garage it resides in. That is the Machiavellian reality. If a threat cannot be leveraged against a domestic political rival, if it cannot generate a measurable return on investment before the next voting cycle, it ceases to exist as an actionable problem. It becomes background noise. It becomes a line item cut. You want to know who the real enemies are? Not the Wolf-Rayet stars, not the indifferent universe. The enemies are the accountants who signed off on the zero budget for existential protection, and the politicians who stood applauding, delighted that they saved 3 basis points this quarter. That is the mechanism of our downfall. 1,000,000 years of evolution, sacrificed for a 4-year electoral term. Think about the audacity of that trade. The physicists know the clock is ticking, but they must speak in the language of grants and peer review, while the politicians only speak the language of panic and polling. Since the cosmic threats are too slow to induce panic and too big to poll, the result is calculated inertia. We are choosing systematically and structurally to die cheaply. Every system on this planet, financial, political, military, is built on the assumption of infinite tomorrow. But there is no infinite tomorrow. There is just physics and the terrifying cold indifference of a universe that doesn't reward cleverness, only mass and velocity. We have achieved technological adolescence, not maturity. We mastered the microchip, but failed to master our own short-term greed. We look up at the sky and see beauty, poetry, and possibility. The cosmos, however, sees only hydrogen, time, and inevitable decay. Now, you ask for solutions. You want the blueprint for the shield. I sincerely doubt there is one available to us, certainly not one we can agree to fund. The only true solution to cosmic extinction is dispersal. It is to place the eggs in more than one basket, to leave Earth, to become a multi-planet species. It requires unified, non-competitive, long-term, non-profit motivation. Now, look at humanity. Does that describe us? Will the powerful men and women who currently run this rock ever truly cede control, wealth, or resources to guarantee a future that they personally won't experience? Never. The moment you start allocating the trillions required for true extrasolar colonization, the internal power struggles would destroy the project, likely before the first ship even cleared the atmosphere. We are victims of our own success. We survived long enough to develop the science to calculate our extinction, but not long enough to overcome the petty fiefdoms of governance necessary to prevent it. We will not be ended by divine judgment or alien invasion. We will be ended by bureaucracy and the deep abiding failure of the human political organism to prioritize anything beyond its own immediate, self-serving continuation. We will be extinguished because the complexity of the challenge outweighed the attention span of the governing class. The final tragedy is not the darkness, but the realization that we could have bought ourselves more time, perhaps a civilization or two, had we simply been willing to pay the price. But the price was always too high, because the price was measured in political capital. And for a politician, that is the only currency that truly matters. When the radiation washes over this planet, reducing everything to an incandescent fog, the ultimate verdict will be stamped on the newly sterile atmosphere. A great species wasted by short-term vision. That is the verdict. We died of self-inflicted cosmic arrogance. Our final epitaph will not be read, because there will be no one left to read it. It will simply be the ghost of a civilization that had the blueprints for salvation, but decided the cost was too high. That silence is the truth. We are not tragic heroes. We are predictable fools. Every empire falls inward first. The death blow wasn't cosmic. It was budgetary. The calculus of power demands immediacy. Survival demands eternity. These two forces are mutually exclusive under the current human political regime. Think about that chilling reality. The trillions required for true extrasolar colonization, the lifeboat, was always seen not as an investment in perpetuity, but as a liability that offered zero returns on the next election cycle. Why fund a generation-spanning project when the benefits accrue only to people who haven't even been born? You don't. You can't. That is the iron law of governance driven by short-term popular mandate. The moment the cost of saving the species conflicts with the cost of maintaining political power, the species loses. Every single time. This wasn't a philosophical failing. It was an arithmetic one. We simply prioritized the wrong ledger. The true Machiavellian tragedy of humanity is this. We developed the intellectual capacity to understand the necessity of leaving, but never the political maturity required to execute the departure. We remained trapped by the gravitational pull of our own egos and jurisdictions, clinging to the familiar rock until the rock itself turned hostile. The final damning verdict is this. Humanity died of organizational failure, poisoned by the very concepts of sovereignty and competition that enabled its initial rise. We were a brilliantly evolved biological machine, rendered inert by poorly designed operating software, the endless pursuit of localized temporary dominance. When the last signal flickers out and the universe resumes its indifferent expansion, there will be no mystery to our demise, no great secret hidden in the cosmos. Just the embarrassing truth that we had the keys to the future, and we traded them for a few more years of comfortable, localized, and ultimately meaningless internal squabbles. The final epitaph is already written in the dust we failed to leave behind. They had the technology to save themselves, but they couldn't agree on who got the credit. That is the silence we bought. It's deafening. We were given the cosmos as our inheritance. We threw it away for a temporary seat at a rapidly sinking table. The Machiavellian dynamic prevailed. Total control of a small territory was judged infinitely superior to shared survival among the stars. It wasn't even pure malice, truly. It was cowardice dressed up as realpolitik. We looked at the infinite void and panicked, choosing the familiar warmth of the fire, even as it consumed us. The final, horrifying truth is simpler than any conspiracy theory. The price of escaping Earth was cooperation. A price too high for an apex predator species fundamentally addicted to zero-sum competition. The universe did not destroy us. We signed the self-destruction clause ourselves. Every time we drew a border, every time we counted votes, every time we measured power in miles instead of light years, humanity never earned salvation, because humanity never truly outgrew its playground squabbles. Now we face the ultimate zero-sum equation. The fight is over, and there is only